Well, hello everyone. I welcome you all at Smarty Education. Today we will be starting with Indian Constitution. But before starting the video, I have a request for all of you to watch the video till the end so you get the full conceptual wise clarity related to Indian Constitution, how it was being formed and how are the facts related to Indian Constitution. Okay. And in the description box of the video, you can find PDF to download these notes. Okay. So let me begin with the chapter. The Great British Raj ruled on India from 1858 to 1947, but at the time of independence in 1946, British proposed India to have its own constitution. So the British Raj ruled from 1858 to 1947, but in 1946 Britishers got to know that we are going out of India because of the so much protest from Mahatma Gandhi ji and other many great leaders like Jawaharlal Nehru, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar and many more other such great leaders. So before going back to England, the Great Britain decided that before going back to England, we must give them their own constitution. The constitution will be made by the own people of India. Okay, ji. Okay, so now you all must be wondering how Indian constitution was being established. Okay, so let me tell you, all the things that I am going to discuss in the video are very important for all of your examinations. Okay. So the first one is, in 1946 Great Britain decided to grant independence to India, but finally we got independence on 15th August 1947 and cabinet mission is dispatched to India to discuss modality for transfer of powers. Okay. Then in 1947 the Constitution Drafting Committee was established under the great leadership of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. He is also known as the father of Indian Constitution. Then the next thing is, on November 1947 the draft recommended by committee was finalized. So the committee made a draft and it was recommended by committee on 4th November 1947. Then on 26 November 1949 Constitution was adopted. It was not came into force on 26 November 1949, but it was adopted on 26 November 1949. I hope then finally my students, 26 January 1950 was a day Constitution was finally came into the force. So that's why you celebrate 26 January as the Constitution Day, as a Republic Day, because our own Constitution was being established and came into the force. Okay, now let's talk about some interesting facts related to Indian Constitution. So you all must be wondering, why am I telling you these facts? Because sometimes in all of your examinations the facts can be asked related to Indian Constitution. So please have full concentration of this because they are too relevant for the examination point of view. The father of the Indian Constitution, you already know, is known as from the name of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar ji. Okay, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Then the second fact is, it is the longest constitution in the world. Okay. Then the third fact is, our constitution was not typed or printed. Okay. Then the fourth fact is, the Constitution declared India as sovereign, socialist, secular and democratic republic. I will explain you all these things in the upcoming slides. But for now, just consider the Constitution declares India as sovereign, socialist, secular and democratic republic. Okay. And the next fact is, assures its citizens justice, equality, liberty, endeavors to promote fraternity. Means the Constitution aims to promote brotherhood. Fraternity means brotherhood. Justice means getting proper legal justice. Equality means we are all equal. Liberty means self-respect. And endeavor meanings you will comment down in the comment section. Okay. The ideals of liberty, fraternity, equality, fraternity come from the French Constitution. Remember that, not from the US Constitution, not from the Russian Constitution, not from German Constitution. The rights of liberty, ideals of liberty, equality, fraternity come from the French Constitution. Very important for all of your examinations. Then the next one is, the law governing our Supreme Court. The concept of procedure established by the law were adopted from the Constitution of Japan. Law related to procedures established by law were adopted from the Constitution of Japan. Then other relevant facts for examinations are India borrowed the concept of suspension of fundamental rights during emergency rule from the Weimar Constitution of Germany. Very important. The preamble of the Indian Constitution was inspired by the US Constitution preamble. Means whenever we start our Constitution, I will even show you the Constitution preamble. But for now, whenever you have all seen in your school textbook that first page is related with the Indian Constitution, that we the people. So the we the people is borrowed from the US Constitution. US Constitution 2 starts with we the people. Okay. The main feature borrowed from the Irish Constitution is the provision of the directive principle of state policy. Remember, whenever there is a question related to directive principle of state policy, the principle is borrowed from the Irish Constitution. Very important for all of your examinations. The DPSP means directive principle of state policy are listed in the part 4 of the Indian Constitution, and it clearly states that it is the duty of the state to apply this principle in the process of law making. Okay, very important MCQ for your all of your examination is 42nd amendment. 42nd amendment is an amendment which is also called mini constitution. Why it is called mini constitution? Because in 42nd amendment there were so many amendments that it can form a mini constitution of Indian Constitution. Therefore it is known as 42nd amendment made by Mrs. Indira Gandhi ji. Okay, so now let's have a brief introduction with the Indian Constitution. You all must be wondering, sir, why don't we start Indian Constitution? Why are we just reading facts? But still, I will tell you that facts are very important related to Indian Constitution. Okay, so introduction with the Indian Constitution. The Constitution, which lays down the basic structure of nation's polity, is built on the foundation of certain fundamental values. The vision of our founding father and the aim and objective which they wanted to achieve through the Constitution are contained in the preamble. So let's see the preamble of the Indian Constitution. Okay, first of all, we the people means that is borrowed from the United States. Okay, justice, liberty borrowed from the French Constitution. Fraternity means brotherhood. All these things develops our aim aim of our founding fathers in the Constitution of India. And the second one is fundamental rights related to Constitution, and the third one is the directive principle. So you all must be wondering what is the directive principle. So let me tell you the directive principle meaning. Okay, are the guidelines or 15 principles given to Federal Institute governing the state of India to be kept in citation while framing law. Whenever you are framing laws and policy related to states, you must consider directive principle of state policy as they are very important related to governing the laws. Okay. Now let's talk about some important terms related to preamble of the Indian Constitution. Okay, so the first one is sovereign. Sovereign means independent and not under the control of any country. It means that India is not under control of any other country like Britain. Okay, the second one is socialist. Socialist was added by 42nd amendment during emergency. It means social and economic equality. So what do you mean by socialist? Socialist means absence of discrimination on the basis of caste, sex and religion etc. The third important term related to Indian Constitution is secular. So what do you mean by secular? Secular was added by first of all 42nd amendment, means the state will not support any kind of particular religion. The matter will be neutral in opinion of state. The fourth one is democratic republic, means the leader will be elected by the people of India. The democratic republic basically means elections of India. The fourth, fifth and sixth are justice, liberty. Okay, justice means what in terms of social, economic and political. Citizen must get justice in those terms. Liberty means freedom of thoughts, means self-respect, belief, faith and worship. Okay, equality means of status and opportunity, means all are equal. Therefore, the Constitution starts with we the people to promote among fraternity means brotherhood, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. Okay, so now let's discuss whether our Constitution is federal or unitary. There were so many discussions related to Constitution is federal or unitary of India. Okay, so Constitution is basically federal but with certain unitary features. We will discuss federal features first. The majority of the Supreme Court judges in Keshav Nanda Bharti versus State of Kerala, AR 1973 SC 1461 were of the view that federal feature form the basic structure of the Indian Constitution. So first of all, remember the Keshav Nanda Bharti versus State of Kerala. This is a very important case name that can be asked in your examination. So let's discuss features of a federal form of constitution. Okay. Now let's discuss the first of all feature of a federal form of constitution is dual government. Like central government is governed by Mr. Modi and the state government, for example of Madhya Pradesh, is governed by state government. So there is a kind of dual government system followed in India. Therefore federal system first feature is present in India. The second one is distribution of power. The central government will exercise different powers and the state government will exercise different powers. Therefore distribution of powers will be done. The third one is supremacy of the constitution. The constitution will be supreme in the country. Okay. Independence of judiciary means Supreme Court. All the courts will be independent and not be influenced by anyone. Okay. So the constitution is written constitution. There must be written constitution. And a rigid procedure for amending a constitution. Whenever you want to change, that is called amendment. And for the amendment in constitution, there is a rigid procedure. You have to go to the parliament, you have to get the sign of president and many other things. Now let's discuss fundamental rights that is being written in part 3 of the Indian Constitution. The first one is right to equality. The second one is right to freedom. The third one is right against exploitation. The fourth one is cultural and educational rights. The fifth one is right to freedom of religion, and the sixth one is right to constitutional remedies. So all these rights we are going to get into the deep of these rights, but for now just remember the name: right to equality, right to freedom, right against exploitation. Fourth one is cultural and educational rights. Fifth one is right to freedom of religion. Sixth one is right to constitutional remedies. Okay, so now let's discuss a detailed explanation of a fundamental right. The first one is right to equality. So what do we mean by right to equality? So first of all, remember the article names from article 14 to 18. Okay, so article 14 states that the state shall not deny to any person equality before the law or equal protection of the law within the territory of country. Means there should not be any discrimination to any other person which is a citizen of India, whether he is Sikh, Isai, or a church, or a Christian, or a Muslim, or a Hindu, okay, or a Brahmin. Okay, means there should be equality to all the person. Equal protection of the law will be protected to all the persons. Okay, article 15. So article 15(1) states that from discriminating against any religion on the basis of religion, that's what we saw in article 14. But the article 14 states that there should be equal protection by the law within the territory of the country, and article 15 states that there should not be any discrimination on the basis of religion, caste, sex, place of birth, or any of them. Sorry for my mistake. Okay, so now let's discuss right to equality. Article 15(2). Okay, so article 15(2) lays down that no citizen shall be subjected to any disability, restriction or condition with regard to access to shops, public restaurants, hotels and places of public entertainment. Means you cannot restrict a person which is available to all. Okay, the use of wells, tanks, bathing guards, roads and places of public resort maintained only, means you can go and just by paying a little amount of money you can access them. Okay. So before starting certain exceptions related to article 15(1) and article 15(2), let me tell you that no fundamental right is absolute. Means there are certain restrictions involved with any fundamental right. Okay, so now let's discuss certain fundamental rights related to article 15 and article 15(2). The first one is under article 15(3), the state can make special provision for women. So in article 15, what we read that there should not be any discrimination, all are equally protected by law, but in certain cases the state can make special provision for women and children. It is under the provision that court have upheld the validity of legislation order discriminating in favor of women. For example, there are so many violations against women, so there is a law that there are reserved seats in election because there are some kind of discrimination against in politics. Okay, so it was proved in Union of India versus Prabhakaran. Just remember the case law, that is all important for your examination. Okay, the next exception is Article 15.4 permits the state to make special provision for the achievement of, means whenever there is a aim to achieve socially and educationally backward classes of citizens, scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, means we are giving benefit to them so they can improve their daily lives. Therefore, the state is permitted to make some special provision for the advancement of socially and educationally backward classes, scheduled castes, scheduled tribes. So in Article 15, what basically means that you can all are equally protected by law, and there should not be any discrimination. But still, there are certain circumstances in which the rights is not absolute. That's what I called in the before studying the certain exceptions, that no right is absolute. It is involved with certain restrictions. Okay, Article 15.5. So this is also an exception inserted in the Constitution of India. It was inserted in the 93rd Amendment. Remember, very important. 2005 permits the state to make special provision for the advancement of any socially and educationally backward classes. That's what we know, that there is a 1/3 amendment in the Constitution that social and backward class. I don't know whether the amendment number is right or not. That 10% of the quota will be given to socially backward section of general category. Okay, this was considered can be Article 15.5. Now let's discuss further Article 15.6 inserted in the Constitution of India by the Constitution 103rd. That's what I said. 2019 proved that nothing in this article or sub-clause Article 19 or Article 29 shall prevent the state from making any state from. Okay, so there are certain restrictions in which you cannot make certain articles. This was written in Article 15.6. Okay, any special provision or for the advancement of any economical weaker section means provides that nothing in the article what can be prevented to from state to make it, means that when you cannot establish a law or policy in state, this is considered in the following things. Okay, any special provision for the advancement of any economical weaker section of the Indian, and then the classes mentioned in, means whatever is mentioned in clause 4 and clause 5, you cannot make any policies related to them. Okay, any state. Okay, so I have already explained you from here to here. The main thing is important from here. So far as such special provisions related to their admission, education included, means there are certain exceptions in Article 15.6 that when you cannot give benefit to a class of society in case of private educational institution, whether aided or unaided by the state, whether it is run by state or unrun by the state. Okay. Equality of opportunity in matters of public employment. This is governed by Article 16, guarantees that all citizens equality of opportunity in matters related to public employment with certain restrictions. Okay, now let's discuss Article 16.2. There is a similar to Article 15.2, and there should not be any discrimination, that I already explained you. I'm not going to explain you again. Okay, however, there are certain expression, means there are always exceptions related to articles. The first one is Article 14 and 16 and 15, in which Article 16.3, 16.4, 16.5 are follows of exceptions. The first one is when in public employment there can be discrimination, Parliament can make a law related to employment of an office under state, means there will be a law and essential qualification when required. There should be means you can say that there should be a condition. Provision can be made for backward classes for the purpose of appointment written in Article 16.4. Okay, a law will not be valid if the employer demands will not be valid even if the employer demands a particular religion. For example, in case of a temple, certain religion can be demanded and the employer can say that Pandit, you have to Hindu, then it cannot prohibit article equality of opportunity in matters of public employment. Okay, now let's discuss another set of exceptions. Nothing in this article shall prevent the state from making any provision for the reservation of appointments or post in favors of any economical section of citizen other than classes mentioned. Means you can make any law in the state, but it should not be considered under clause 4 and clause 5 in addition to the existing reservation. Like in you can say that ST will get more reservation. It cannot be done. Okay, it should not be existed already. Okay, Article 16.6. I know all of you are very smart. like smarty education. So now let's discuss abolition of untouchability. This is considered under Article 17. So that untouchability is abolished under Article 17. Remember the article names because they are also important for all of your examinations. Enforcement of any disability arising out of untouchability shall be an offence punishable in accordance with the law. Means Article 17 says that whenever you are something discriminating on the basis of untouchability, it is a crime and fundamental right is violated, right to equality. Untouchability doesn't include irrigation to social boycott. This was proved in Dwarajia v. Padmana Air 1961 May 35-39. Punishment for violation is to be provided by Parliament under Article 35. There are certain conditions that you are not needed to study. Now let's talk about Article 18, abolition of title. So what do you mean by abolition? Abolition means something is to be finished. So now let's discuss Article 18 is a prohibition of rather than a fundamental right. British government used to confer title to make a separate class. How did they make separate class? Like Sardar, Sir, okay. Jahabana, not title. So there should not be a title being a military, not being a military or academic. So there is exception that military commanders can get sergeant like title, but shall not be conferred by the state. Means in state you cannot say Minister Sahab. Okay. The second one is no citizen of India. Means if the foreign government is giving you any kind of title, you cannot accept it under the before the consent of president. That's what in written here. Before the consent of president, you cannot accept any title from any foreign state. Okay. Now let's discuss right to freedom. So what do you mean by right to freedom? Freedom means in moving freely. Article 19(1) of the Constitution guarantees to the citizen of India 6 freedom. The 6 freedom are follows: freedom of speech, assemble peacefully without arms, forms association. I'm not going to read all of them. You please pause the video and read them. I'm just going to explain you important things. As stated, no right is absolute and there are certain. That's what I told you in the beginning of the video. The restriction, and even if you are pulling a restriction on any fundamental right, the restriction must be imposed by law. Restriction must be reasonable, like for the purpose of not spreading the COVID-19, India imposed lockdown. Okay, that was suitable restriction. One or objection specified in clause of Article 19. Now, let's discuss permissible restriction related to right to freedom. What are the restrictions that can be involved in that can prohibit your right to freedom? Okay, let's discuss them one by one. The first one is when there is a question on sovereignty and integrity of India. Okay, means there is a war and your right to freedom is to be prohibited. The second one is when there is a question in the security of the state. When the third one is friendly relation with foreign state. For example, you all must be remember that Donald Trump came to India and the rally was made and the road was empty. Why? Because to make the friendly relation with foreign state. Fourth one is when there is a public order, your right to freedom can be infringed. The fifth one is decency or morality, that you are going to write it down in the comment section. The sixth one is contempt of when there is a court order in a particular area that should be impose on the right to freedom movement. And the sixth one is defamation. Defamation means basically reputation, harming reputation to another person. Means there are some areas that like contaminated area where you cannot move. Okay. The sixth one is incitement to an offense. Now, today, that's it for today's guys. I hope you have enjoyed the video. If yes, please like the video and have a good day. Smarty education. Okay, to join my WhatsApp group, you can message me on 72240758832. I hope you liked the video. If yes, please give it a like. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I have worked very hard on the video. And don't forget to check the description box for getting notes.